Hey, good to go.
It's still Wednesday,
You betcha.
but we're lying and saying it's the week after.
Goddamn right.
Here we go. Oh, hi. You're listening to Service from Hell, a podcast featuring people that are currently in customer service positions or the lucky few that got out and all of the good, bad, and infinitely irritating things that go along with that work. I'm actor and writer Kate Gaffney, and I'm uniquely qualified to discuss this as I used to work at a very busy and very popular comedy club in Los Angeles. And at least one of you listening right now has probably grabbed me and told me you were ready to order when I was running around like a crazy person. So let's eat. You think I'd have this memorized by now. I'd like to welcome our guest, LA-based film composer. Whoa, go back. Oh boy. Oh boy. Here we go. I'd like to welcome back our guest, LA film composer, music producer, podcast host, and creative director, Joanna Katcher. You can catch Joanna's full bio on demand right now and go back and listen. She's got a lot of things going on. She's awesome. I better know Joanna from her being a bully. And that's really where we're leaving that. So we're back for week 2 with Joanna Katcher. Okay, Ms. Katcher. The last story we ended with was you were moved from you were moved from the Lobster Shop, the fancy restaurant, to Porter and Stouts.
Yeah.
Because they were like, no, ma'am.
Not on my watch.
Not on my watch.
Absolutely not.
Never again.
No.
And you had gone from being not really enjoyed by the cooks because you didn't know what 86 was, to being beloved because you were working for 1077. What was the
end?
1077.
1077, the end.
And because of that, they were like, wait a minute. You can get t-shirts. You can get swag.
Yeah.
So did you come in with swag?
Yes, I think there were people with whom we were friends, and so we would bring them CDs and shit. And then the cook saw us doing it, and they were like, "Can I get one of those CDs?" And I was like, "Well, look who's got something to say."
Oh, how the tables have turned.
Yeah, you think I can get that side of ranch now, Kyle?
Can you put down the meth for 5 seconds, Kyle?
Seriously, Kyle. Jesus.
I mean, the cooks, though. Okay, so how long do you last at Porter and Stouts?
Oh, heavens to Betsy. I'll tell you what, probably under a year. I mean, like, yeah. I don't even remember.
Wait, was it because you broke up with your girlfriend?
No, it's because we were miserable there. It was like
Just a hard job.
Yeah, we just didn't. I hated it, and I would rather have been doing anything else in the world. And I mean, probably like 4 months. Let's say.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or 5 months or something like that.
But you were just a server there.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Just
Yeah, I needed to
a
use that
server.
word. Yep.
Huh.
So you were low person.
I was the lowest of low. And also, yeah, we were under 20, and so we couldn't make any money tips on alcohol because we couldn't carry alcohol to tables.
So you wouldn't be tipped off of booze, you'd just be tipped off of food?
That's right.
Would there be 2 separate receipts then? How did that work?
It was, well, we just, if a table was drinking alcohol, we just wouldn't be able to serve them. Oh, actually, there was a section, like an underage, anybody who was seated in like X section
Was under 21.
Yeah, and that was fair game to us. But
So
anyone
you couldn't
else,
even wait on tables that had a booze going to them.
Right.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. So
Wait,
stupid.
I'm trying to think of it. For the places where I served before I was 21, I definitely brought booze to tables. I'm wondering how that worked. They probably just didn't care. It was Ohio.
It's,
who cares?
again, I mean, Tacoma adjacent cities in Washington, it was the Wild West, you know?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
knows?
It's weird that they enforced it.
Yeah.
Oh, so maybe you technically weren't allowed to work, and they were like, "Well, we'll let them work. We just let them work in that section."
Yeah.
That's so interesting. It's like having a smoking and a non-smoking section.
totally.
Like, that's the legal
That was
section.
always interesting on the plane. Smoking and non-smoking on the plane. I'm like, it's one metal tube, is it not?
So it turns out.
Yeah.
Also in a restaurant.
Yeah, I
it's
mean-
one building.
Yeah.
Like we're all in the same room.
That's right.
It's not like the smoke is like, oh, I can't go over there. I won't be doing that then. Ridiculous. Okay, so that was your Porter and Stouts was your least favorite.
Correct.
And that was just because the money was bad and the cooks were shitty.
The money was bad. The cooks were shitty. It was a kind of a hike from where I was living, and yeah, and frankly, like I wanted to be making out with my best friend / girlfriend, which you'll find later is a theme in many of these restaurant related
many a restaurant romance.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's your least favorite. What's the weirdest thing you've been asked to do whilst you were on the clock?
Yeah. So when I was working for 1077 The End, they would send us out in these like huge, like wrapped basically Suburbans that it was just like if you could find the Suburban, you could like go to it and like talk to us, and we would like give you like the station like sampler of like the new shit that was coming out. But it wasn't even weird. It was just like there were 2 bikes for the station that were like also branded, and we would just like, they were like, the modulators are going to be like in whatever park, and we would just like go right around, and if people could find us, we would like give them, sometimes we would like give people skateboards and shit because there were all these kind of sponsors and stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was
like
rad.
Santa Claus.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. And honestly, we would just like text our friends and be like, we're gonna be at this park, just so you know, so if you want to get in on this, come on down.
That is so fun.
I'm trying to think the weirdest thing though. God, I'm sorry, I feel like I should figure this out quickly.
Well, it's because you listen every week.
Yeah, no, totally. Can we come back to that one?
Yeah. What's an incident that ever made them ask to speak to your manager at any of these jobs? Was there ever a moment where they were like, no, we're not dealing with you. Let me speak to Marianne.
Oh my God, so many times at Blockbuster.
Really?
Constantly.
Wait, why? Because you were a baby.
Yeah, because I was 15 and they were like, you don't know what you're doing. And I was like, that is absolutely right.
Accurate statement,
that is
actually.
Absolutely correct. I'm sure that there are others, but I mean, I feel like it happened a lot at Blockbuster. And they were like, can we speak to your manager? And I was like, please. Yeah. Please. Actually, it was really important to me to do a good job. And so anytime anyone wanted to speak to the manager, I was like fucking sweating bullets, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That can actually really mess up. It's tough. So what would you, so they want to speak to the manager. Was it usually about the fines and bullshit that that you had to enforce?
Like when you think back to when you're a kid and you have no confidence because you don't know anything.
Sure.
And you're just like, well, whatever that older person says is probably the thing. And the way they're acting is totally appropriate.
Because they're the adult.
Because they're the, where are you from?
Ohio.
Adult.
I know. I don't know when I started saying it like that.
Probably when you became an adult. Am I right?
Probably.
Hey.
Probably.
Good night. Tip your server.
This one. Podcast over. Thank you for being here, Joanna. Yep. 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Okay, so what before you made fun of me, what were you talking about?
We were talking about how when I was at Blockbuster, people would ask to see the manager all the time.
So is that the only incident? Can you think of like one like kind of frightening experience where you were like, ooh, I might get fired? You seem like that's not your vibe.
There was one time when I was working for the radio station when we were late. We would have these things called end sessions where you would bring like, a band. It was basically like an acoustic session of like whatever touring band was coming through.
How fun.
It was really fun. And like, kids would win tickets to go see it, because they would call the station or whatever. And I think we were late to one of these events, and I was driving the Suburban, and I was driving like the morning team DJs. Why can't I talk?
DJs.
The morning team DJs. And I was like steadfast in going the speed limit. My hands were 10 at 2. And one of the DJs was like, we're going to need to get there faster. You got to hurry up. And I was like, I won't break the law. Like I was such a little fucking goody two shoes.
Cool.
Like, which is insane. If you knew me and rode in my car, I'd love to break the law. I'd love to speed. Absolutely all the time.
Big fan of speeding.
As often as possible. Certainly. But like for some reason I was just like, no,
not
sir.
Today.
Yeah. And I caught a lot of shit for that. They were like, well, I guess we can't ask Joanna to do it because blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't want to break the law.
Help.
I'm
5.
Yeah. But really, there was never. Yeah, that's boring that there's no stories. But I'm sure there will be more that we'll think of as
tomorrow
we go on.
Yeah, when we're not interviewing.
For episode 3.
3. Here we go. Okay. So, do you think it's weird the amount of power that customers wield now? Because you worked in customer service, sort of the pre-Yelp era.
Right.
So because of like Yelp and Google reviews kind of tanking businesses, I mean, they're not necessarily doing that as much now, but do you think it's kind of crazy the power that they wield, or do you think it's a reasonable amount to be able to express their opinions about how things go?
Did you work for a place that was like negatively affected by
Yes.
You? Really?
My job was negative. Yeah. Like they would read Yelp reviews, and if you were named in them, it decided how many shifts you would get.
Holy fucking shit.
Yep.
I was never involved that heavily, like, in anything like that. And I always I was like, oh, that's cool. It's a community and you can say, but yeah, I mean, it's like fucking people gang up and they're just like,
Yeah.
Sarah in shoes was a real bitch,
Yeah.
No, I think it's, on the one hand, I think it's like an interesting way for people to be held accountable when they're actually being pieces of shit.
See, this is the thing.
But on the other hand, I mean, it's such a platform for, sort of like diabolical community members to just shit all over you and then you're screwed.
Well, and it's my point with this is always like, I mean, super high end, I guess, fine dining. They're not, I mean, they do have online reviews, but it's less important. It's sort of whatever the hot restaurant is at the time. But by the time you're serving or bartending at those places, that's your career. Like you're doing this at that level, 5-star sommelier, or you want to go to the Michelin restaurants because you care.
Right.
That stuff follows you for your entire career. I don't think people understand, like your resume goes with you, but so do your reviews. And it's like, oh, you just had a bad night one night and you wanted to take it out online on this person and now their career is affected.
That's really interesting. People who are really like, who are restaurant tours. Restaurateurs and like Michelin star. I guess I didn't know that or think about that like they would be, but of course they would,
Yeah, it only came to light recently when I was thinking like these celebrities who are wilding out on these employees and like getting them in trouble. And I'm like, yeah, they could get fired over that. And then when they get called for a reference, it's like, oh no, yeah, they really were. Anyway, okay. But how do you feel about that in general? Like you think it could be a community, it could be good. But
it's like everything where
like
it's,
everything.
It's like
everything.
It could be it's abused,
Yeah, it is. Okay. Well, the next question wouldn't make sense for you because I was going to ask about a Yelp review, but you wouldn't have had to deal with that. What is the last straw that got you out of it? Was there ever a job where you were like, flip a table, I'm out? Or have you mostly gracefully exited?
There have been a lot of times where I wanted to, I just remembered. Here's the thing. There are a lot of like odd jobs. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like so many fucking odd jobs. Like I was playing like in the pit orchestra and percussion section in Tacoma when they were doing Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat.
You couldn't read music and you were accompanying a musical where you had to know the music.
Tacoma, Washington.
I'm sure you didn't suck there though. I'm sure you didn't get to play a B when it was a D or whatever. Like,
well, the melodic elements are less frequent there in the percussive arts. But I will say, aside from like, your marimbas and what have you, but like,
what?
Yeah, I did a lot of improvisation that seemed to work within the confines. I'm certain that the director was like, okay, I don't know what's happening over there, but we're too far into the production, so let's just write it out.
Joseph's coat is on his body at this stage. Yeah. We got to keep going.
Joseph's in the back of the stage. He's doing push-ups. He's ready to do his whole thing. Let's just bring her on down. Yeah. I feel like the weirder things that happened were the like odd jobs that I have when I first moved to New York, because
you'll do anything at this.
Yeah. And a lot of, I mean, like, sorry, I don't want to derail your.
Keep going.
One of the first, it was like when Craigslist was really ripping, it was like 2004 is when I first got there. And, I was looking for jobs that had anything to do with like sound or live music or anything. I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing, but like, I'm sure I can figure it out. You know what I mean? But I got a job doing like the live sound basically at this comedy club, which was in the basement of, it was like by the Bowery. It was like on Bowery and 4th Street or something like that.
Don't worry. It's the Cellar now. Don't worry, everybody. It's fine.
It's absolute. Yeah. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called the Hollywood Improv. Yeah. They had one in New York. But God, wow, this is all coming back. Basically, the dude who posted the ad, it was a situation where like I got back from class, I was looking at Craigslist, the ad just went up. It was like, we need live sound for tonight. Can you do it? And I it was up for like 2 minutes and I called the guy and the guy was like, awesome. Yeah, come down. He sounded manic on the phone. And I was like, cool, this is going to be a fun adventure,
Turns out.
So I went down there and he was like, yeah, this is awesome. And he was just like, he kept like doing it. And I was like, all right, bro. But I had no idea. I would have never thought, I was like, why, I'm from the Northwest where trees are used only for wood, for building homes for families,
And when we say powder, we mean talcum powder.
And we mean snow, actually.
Snow.
Yeah. But he was like, this job is fucking sick. You know what I mean? It's like, it's really easy. They pay you in cash. You can buy your drugs with your cash. You buy your drugs with your cash. And it's just like under the table. It's so chill. And I was like, rad. And like he left and he was fine. But literally everything was broken, like nothing. And I didn't really know how to troubleshoot anything because I was like just starting my music technology adventure, So it was like I was freaking out and sweating my ass off. And then there was a comedian who was simulating the sound of sex by using deli meat slices of ham, and it was like a little watery, and you put it right up to the mic, and he'd always be like, sound, can you turn this up, sound? Can we get a little more of the slapping sound? Can you crank that up? It was just like, it was a lot of jobs like that. Like basically take that and like scatter it over, a couple years, that kind of thing. Also, I was, of course, thrilled by it. I thought it was so funny and weird. I was like, this is so fucking bizarre, and I'm certain that I could like get heroin in the next room over if I want. You know what I mean?
I could sneeze and someone brought it to me.
Right.
Yeah. That's comedy clubs, baby.
Totally. Yeah. And then, I got fired from that for probably because I didn't know what I was doing.
Probably because you weren't doing drugs. No, truly, I'm not making a joke.
That's probably
here.
True.
Yeah, because they don't want to narc, and they're like, if you're not joining in, you're probably calling somebody. Yeah. No thanks. You go where? Oh no. Sorry. Okay, so but was there like a moment where you were like, this probably would have been pre-LA when you were like, I've got to step out on my own. I have to be done with these jobs. I really can't do another day. Or did you not stay in it long enough to have that? I really can't do it another day.
I mean, this isn't like, it's not that great of a story, but basically when I was doing audio post, I was working in New York I'd worked at several studios in New York. And, I'm sure that he's not listening and whatever, but like one of my bosses was just an absolute shit show of a human. Just a truly like I don't know. I feel like bad going into it, but basically like the way that he acted, the way that he treated clients, the way that he would talk about them behind their back, like it was just gnarly and disgusting. And I think it was like an amalgamation of all of that bullshit that I was like, you know what? I feel like I could do this better if I was by myself and on my own, I think. And that's when I asked that, the client to come with me, and then they did, and then that kept me afloat for the year or whatever.
Yeah.
But as far as like, I don't know, like as far as like dance for us, Boet, like there was nothing specific like that,
Okay, well that's good. Have you ever told a customer to like F off or get out of your face? Or it just doesn't strike me as how you are, but...
No, I told my mom to fuck off once, and that was the scariest day of my life.
Yeah, I bet. Because your mom's adorable, I'm
she
sure.
She is perfect.
Yeah.
She is perfect. Don't even say her name.
Yeah. Doing it.
No, I didn't, but I can get... I mean, sometimes the filtration system doesn't work exactly right, and the sarcasm seeps through in a way that's not okay.
Not ideal.
Yeah.
Well, you don't suffer fools. You're very nice, but you don't suffer fools. So I can see you being like, no, Joanna doesn't have time for that.
Yeah. I nothing sticks out. See, this is where it's boring, where I'm just like, well, it was okay. I don't know.
Well, the whole episode has been, so we're good. It's in alignment with how you've been the whole time.
100%. And yes, understanding, like extremely privileged, and I'm well aware of that. But like, no, I don't. Let me see.
Because I feel like you got out of customer service early enough and then started working for yourself. You didn't actually have the luxury to tell anyone to like kiss your ass.
No.
Because once you start working for yourself, you're like, sure, yes, everything's good. Everything, I'm doing great.
100%.
You have to.
Absolutely. Okay. Would you like to do this? I'd love to do that.
Yes, please, sir, may I have another.
I'd love to do a fucking 25th revision on your thing.
When you paid for two.
Please, yeah.
Feels really good. Mm-hmm. Okay. How many I guess when you were bartending, kind of, but have there ever been any bodily fluids on you whilst you were working?
Mine or someone else's?
Good. That answers that.
Okay.
Do you tip?
Of course. What?
I love that everyone gets surprised by this. How much? What's your range?
At least 20%.
Okay. What changes it?
If I can give more money.
That's it.
And also like, I don't know, my dad and my mom set the tone for being like very good tippers. And like also, if I like go out to breakfast, I tip more because like I know traditionally like breakfast items are really cheap, and so then the bill isn't that much, and then you gotta like... That
is the most thoughtful response ever.
It's disgusting.
I don't tip more at breakfast, and I worked in it. Damn.
It's just like, your fucking dinner entree is like $25 and like breakfast is like 12 or something.
Wow.
That was always a thing.
So you compensate for that?
I try to when I remember to. Yes.
Oh, you're a hero.
Thank you.
Where are the bodies?
Wow,
buried?
Kate Gaffney, you like me, and it is recorded.
I mean, it's on the mic.
It's on here. Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't get a lot of guests. I'm really pretty desperate. Okay. Do you ever change in the way that it goes down? So if your base is 20%, is there ever an incident or a moment where you're like...
I've done it.
Okay, why?
The problem is like, okay, why if they're just fucking assholes. If
Okay,
they're,
what does that mean?
It means that they see now. Okay, here's the thing. Like I feel like now it's less. It's like Joanna 1.0 sort of like did, but like basically like in situations with people in service, it's like, what the fuck do they have going on in their life right now that they're like dealing with? And I'm sorry that they are not like super stoked to be serving you. You know what I mean? So like, I try to think about that. If there's an experience that's not great, you know, but there are times where like, it usually comes out of like, if I'm having food with like my parents or something and they're not treating my parents, like if they're not cool or they're being dicks or they're, you know, my parents are 80. So like if they can't hear or they need repeating or something like that.
Servers have been shitty to them for that?
Yeah.
That makes me fucking mad.
That's the kind of shit that like.
That's abuse.
And I'll actually follow you to your car after that. Don't. Don't.
Yeah, that's
also my parents are they're docile humans. You know what I mean? They're
also
spry.
Humans. They're humans.
Yeah.
Wait, has that really happened where a server's been like snippy with them because they couldn't hear?
A couple times.
Fuck.
Yeah. My dad can't hear in one ear, and he'll tell the server that, and then the server kind of like won't make any adjustments. Which whatever, I understand. It's like a loud restaurant or whatever, but I think like in situations where I'm like, why wouldn't you, like, I've been in customer service, like you need to be like, just be a person, just be a good person.
That's
and
it,
then
full stop.
The whole
Start
thing
there,
you know?
Yeah. Well, and I can't imagine, again, it's kind of like what we were talking about last week. I can't imagine a scenario in which my terrible day, my just utterly terrible day would trump my ability to be empathetic to a human being who's like, hey, here's this vulnerable thing about me. I can't hear out of this ear. Like, I can't imagine I'd be so riled up and mired in my own bullshit that I'd be like, okay, cool. So I'm going to start talking like this.
Yeah.
I can't really, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing that work then?
I know. It's just, it's odd. Or like, I think there's situations where I feel like I'm bothering, you know.
Oh, I hate that.
And it's typically when like something, like maybe something from the order had been forgotten. And so I have to be like, hey, I'm sorry, you know, and they're like, ugh. And then they get bothered and I'm like, listen, there's a reason they didn't come in, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't remember when I've ever adjusted it down.
Oh,
but
okay.
It's happened, you know?
So you can think of incidents where your parents were treated rudely and you were like, nah.
Yeah. And like, I mean, like they're like highlight life incidents. They're like, it's like once or twice that I can think of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But enough that it's like, yeah, that would really upset me.
Yeah.
Do you ever straight up like do the thing that servers hate where you just will leave change because you're mad?
No. Okay. No. And if I don't, no. Sorry.
What if I come at your table crazy hot and I never get nicer? And I'm like, what do you want? And that's how I'm speaking to you.
I think probably at that point, I would engage you in conversation as much as possible to just kind of be like, how are
happening?
You?
Yeah.
That's usually like where I go. If someone's being a dick, I'm like, hey, how's it going? You know?
And does it soften them usually?
Sometimes, or they'll be like, fine, you know, without looking up, fine, or, you know, and I'm just like, okay, well, that's how that's going to go. But it kind of just makes me want to know what's going on. So I'll pick at it a little bit.
Yeah, it's tough because having worked at a club where it was turn and burn and you had to get 150 drinks out in under 2 hours, it was such chaos. I had very low bandwidth to be nice and I hated it because it's not my homeostasis. It would just be like, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want?
Yeah.
And then be pissed when they wouldn't tip. And it's like, well, I treated them like it was a fucking factory.
Well, you're set up to fail there.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Every second of every shift.
That's
anyway.
Awful. Great use of the word homeostasis. I too like to use it, and it's so rarely have an opportunity to do so.
It's underutilized.
Yeah, it's really, really well done.
Is there ever a situation in which you would, or have you ever fully walked out of a restaurant and been like, this is no longer even going to continue? I'm not even going to get to the stage where I can tip you.
100%. That
case? Usually
happens when I sit down and like it's been 15 minutes and no one comes over. You know what I mean? And usually like if that happens, like I'll stand up and walk over to someone and be like, hey, can we grab a couple menus or whatever? But yeah, that's happened. More often than not, though, I'll sit down with someone and it just won't, the vibe's wrong.
That's a real thing.
Doesn't feel good.
That's a real thing.
You know, I'm just like, this doesn't feel right. And then we'll head out.
I'm going to ask a sad question. Don't answer this if you don't want to.
Okay.
But please be honest if you can be. Do you ever feel like that's at all related to your like or your sexual preference? Like, has that ever played a role into it? Do you think?
My sexual preference,
which is dogs.
It's a
so
choice.
When you bring in your dog,
a choice. I don't think so. Okay. I don't. I mean,
you can't think of a moment where you're like, because I am a lesbian, X is happening.
I don't think so. I mean, I'm sure that it's happened, but like I've been fortunate in that like I've lived in large cities where there's a bunch of people rolling around who look just like me. And, so like
to the listening audience, Joanna looks like a quarterback. She's actually wearing a helmet. She has on the fucking full uniform and cleats. So in case anyone wondered what an
Let's go Ravens.
Yeah. And she normally sounds like that. She's changed the register of her voice for this whole interview. I love that. I'm glad. I'm actually really glad that you can't think of like a moment where you're like, this is 100% related. And that's kind of a way to get through life.
I think more like when I go to gay bars that are like just gay bars.
Lesbians can get shitty treatment in situations like that.
I've definitely been,
ignored fully.
You're not going to drink. You're not. But it's when you're going in there. But also that's not an excuse, but it's also just to just set your expectation to be realistic.
And not be mad because you're like, I know what's going to happen here.
And I made a choice to go into a place that's not mine,
I take issue with that, but I
do too. I do too. Yeah. I do too. But it's also like.
You get it.
I as I was saying it was, so there's a place in the corner, a couple blocks away they host drag shows basically. And I think the clientele is basically Mexican. And when my partner and I were together, I was like, oh, we should fucking go in. That looks amazing. And they're like, that's not for you. You can't go in there.
Wow.
And I was like, I can't? And they were like, nope. And then I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Who is it that you asked? Who's the they that you asked?
Oh, my ex.
Oh, okay. So that like your ex already lived in this area and they knew
we were living together here.
Oh,
yeah, we were just driving home.
Oh, and they just knew that's not for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
This makes me sound like a fucking idiot. And it's I mean,
I don't think it makes you sound like an idiot. I think it's honest.
I don't know. I feel like
if we're getting into weird territory,
there's nothing weird. I was just thinking about there's so few like specifically lesbian bars left in the country. You may or may not know.
No, I did know, and I wanted to bring this up because this lovely human whose name is escaping me. Where's my brain?
You got it.
Just opened in Portland. The only. I think it's lesbian and female sports only get played at this particular sports bar.
Shut your fucking beautiful face.
I'm gonna have to look it up. I just read about it because they got highlighted in some magazine because I think she identifies as a woman, so I'm gonna feel like an asshole. I have to look all this up. Please forgive me, but I want to highlight it. I'll put it in the show notes, but I can't think of the name. I just read about it. Anyway, I think it's in Portland, and I think it's lesbian, and it's only showing female sports, and it's just supposed to be like real female empowerment shit.
That sounds familiar. Also, like, I wish you knew the name because
I know. I'll look it up.
I'd love to know if I know this person.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay.
Because you probably do because you're from Oregon. Okay.
Well, we all know each other.
Yeah, you do. Well, all the lesbots know
all
each
the
other.
lesbots. Yeah.
Why do you think that is, real quick? I'm making this podcast about 67 things. We're never gonna get through this. Why do you think that there's so few lesbian bars?
Why do the homosexuals know each other? Oh.
why do all the gays hang out?
Yeah.
No, why do you think that there's so few?
That's a great question. I don't really know the answer. I don't know. I feel like there's likely like a historical significance to like the ratio of,
Why didn't you come here as a historian? I'm really annoyed.
Well, I was a history minor.
Okay, great.
I wasn't.
And I also went to NYU.
Okay. No, that's a good question though. Have you watched the documentary that's out?
No, but I've heard that it's super sad but amazing.
Yeah, I have not because I don't want to support my community, but
that's good. I get it.
I'd love to watch it, especially because there's Henrietta Hudson. There are a couple right in New York that I would frequent, and so many memories,
Well, bless you. Yeah. That's a good time. We're having fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about. So we do.
We have fun.
Tell me about the worst customer you've ever interacted with, or an archetype of who the worst customer would be. Cooks don't count.
A person who comes at you from a place of, I know what your job's about. Like, I get it, but I do just like, and they will do their very best to like speak your language, and then like a passive aggressive person who pretends to know what the fuck they're talking about and you know what I mean?
10 times out of 10.
Yeah.
When people would come into the comedy club where I used to work and be like, girl, I get it. I used to do it. I got you. 100% of the time, they would not tip. I'm telling you 100% of the time that by the time I heard that speech, like the 5th time, I was like, I know what's about to happen here. Like, and then it became whatever. But like, yes, that sense of like, I've never heard it said like that, but I know what your job's about.
I get it. And I have that. I mean, there are clients who I work with now who they'll talk to me. It almost borders sometimes on like mansplaining with if I can use that word.
You sure can.
They'll be like, okay, so when you go to the dominant 7 here, I think what we should be doing is you want to go to the relative minor. Okay, so that's going to be a 3rd down from the top. I'm like, dude,
please stop.
Just say what the fuck you want.
Yeah.
You know,
your words.
It's so odd because sometimes I think the intention is good. You know, I think they're trying to relate and trying to do their best.
Language.
Totally.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I've spent so much time learning to understand what people mean when they're like, can you make this sound like a little more blue, like a little more blue green, you know? I'm like, totally, you know, but just
translating their language.
Right. And it's just, but I think, and in your context where it's like, girl, I've been there. I know you're busy. When you get a free second, can I get just like a 7 and 7? And honestly, like take your time. But at the same time, I am at table 7 and I do need to head out. So if you could do it quickly, I would totally appreciate it. Can you cash me out? And I don't.
You just got sat 10 times.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. I don't have any cash on me now, but I'm going to come back. And I got you.
Oh,
I got you.
Joanna. Why is it always the same fucking phrase? It makes me,
yeah.
crazy.
It is funny though. It's I feel like they're just like circumventing an entire obstacle course by being like, I've been where you've been. I get it.
It's like,
you're like, what do you want?
Yeah. Is there a situation in which you would interact with someone like that? Like say, I don't know, like if you have an experience, not with what you do now, because it's how you make your money now, but like an experience where someone like would talk to you like this. And so you would match them because it feels good to be condescending to people that are being condescending. Like, would you ever do that?
Absolutely. Oh yeah. Especially when I was younger. There was just there's no filter really.
None.
We learned that as we went to therapy, as we grew older, and we thought maybe we should rein that in.
Maybe we want friendships.
Yeah, it's definitely, I'm a bit of a mockingbird when it comes to that,
too.
and it's really fucking hard. My mom's like, you know, Joey, you can control how you act. We can't control how we feel, but we control how we act. And I was like, I certainly don't know what that means. That sounds like a bunch of hocus pocus.
I can't do either.
No, that is wild. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'd be like, oh, do you? Yeah.
Would you really? Have you really?
100%.
And so what would be the response? Would they recognize that they were being shitty?
Yeah.
And then would they shift
Oh,
it?
no. They would recognize that I was being shitty. I'm trying to think of, I'm certain that I'm imagining it at Nordstrom's for some reason, because my sister worked there for years, and she had these horror stories of customers who were shitheads. But
can you tag her in so that we get a good story out of this?
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm so sorry. Yeah. I'll get the better, more attractive Katcher sister here, and she'll do a great job. I can't remember. I'm certain it was like I was probably at Porter and Stouts.
Sure.
When, you know, sure. And it was just like, it was like a defense mechanism when I felt like I was being dumb and I didn't know the information that I was supposed to know.
Yes.
And they made me feel that way, you know?
Yes. It's a very specific experience where it's like, no, you're already in a higher position because I am literally serving you. How much more do you need this to be a thumb on my neck or foot on my neck or whatever?
I just realized if you've never had Alana Johnston on your show, boy, does she have some fucking great stories.
Can you connect us?
Absolutely.
Great.
It would be my pleure.
Maybe, should we tag her in right now?
Yes.
Let's get her on the phone.
Yes.
Okay.
Johnson, ring her up.
ring her in. Okay, well, can you think of anything else negative you want to talk about, or we'll move on to the good stuff?
Yeah, we can move on to the good stuff. I'm trying to think if there's Oh God, there's really nothing too juicy.
Well, we skipped, or we went back to, wow, Kate, words. We asked the weirdest thing you've been asked to do whilst on the clock, and you said, let's come back to it. So could you?
I just don't have any, I don't think I have anything good for that I can think of.
I will say being asked to turn up the gain or the sound or the whatever while some dude finger bangs a piece of ham on stage is pretty specifically weird. But I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching. Like, I feel like you answered it.
Oh God, yeah. Oh my God, yeah. One time, I have a story where I fucked up.
Sure, tell me that.
I was doing a record. So an agency that I worked for was doing a record with Glenn Close at her, she had an apartment, I don't know if she still does, by Washington Square Park, like really close to Washington Square Park.
Probably $1 million apartment.
I mean, certainly. They were like, Joanna, can you do this? This is really important. You know, normally you don't do like a portable record, but can you help us with this? And I was like, absolutely. Yeah. Are you kidding me?
Let me right now.
I know all there is to know about everything.
I've done that too.
Certainly.
The answer is yes.
God, the confidence, there's just no shortage of it. Anyway, so I got all my shit together and I had checked everything at home to make sure it worked and all this shit. And I was just like, play it cool. Glenn Close is going to open the door. You're just going to go. It was me and then one of the producers who I was friends with who was there asking her questions and stuff. So it was me and this kid, Rob. And we knock on her door and she opens the door and she's got her reading glasses on the top of her head. She's like, hey, come in. You know, who knows? Glenn Close is in the middle of whatever the fuck Glenn Close does. She's busy. We're just kind of intruding on her day. She doesn't make us feel like that. But clearly like we're one of like a billion things. Her husband's sitting over at the little table with the bay window and he's got it's a whole cute thing. So I set up over by the couch. I set up the mic. I've got my little so the mic goes into the interface goes into the computer. Right. Great. Okay. And then we're ready to go. And I see the level. I'm like, great level. I see it. You know what I mean? And she does 4 or 5 great takes of this thing. And we're wrapping up and I listen back to it and I realize that I've been recording her with the mic from my computer, like the shitty, it basically sounds like a voice memo versus the mic. And her time is so valuable. You understand? I was like, Glenn, do you think that you could give us just one more just for safety? And let me tell you what, there were no other options because that one more was the only one we had. And I certainly never told anyone, the agency that. And they were like, oh, this is a great take. And I was like, isn't it? It's perfect.
It's the best one.
And you know what? Let's not even look at the other ones. That's for sure. Yeah, it turned out fine. But I was sweating and I thought I was going to die. And it was terrible. It was like.
But imagine if you hadn't discovered it in the moment. Imagine if you just took those takes to the agency and they were like, yeah, what happened? Oh my God. There are a lot of instances like that where my general confidence and lack of experience I fucked up I fucked up so many things. Oh. So many things. I had an internship at a video post house. They had an audio room and they're like, Joanna, you go to NYU. Do you want to kind of get in there and, help us with this? We need this certain kind of mix. It's a mix where it's called an M&E mix. It's music and effects only. And you go through this whole movie and you remove all the dialogue and you fill in the spaces with ambient sound. And I was like, not a problem, whatever. And that part was fine. And they were like, yeah, so just lay it back to tape. And I was like, yeah, I'll just lay it on back. On that tape? What tape? Or do you have a tape? Or what does tape mean? I had no fucking clue what I was doing. There was no time code on the tape. Everything was fucked. I fucked up the entire thing so much so that 2 years later, when I was working and I had learned things, I was working in a machine room at that point, surrounded by, tape decks and crap. I got a call from that place and they were like, hey, so we're going through the tapes and there's actually nothing on here. And we were just wondering if you knew. And I was like, that's weird. That's odd. That is odd. Anyway, so I had to go back. That is odd. In the middle of the workday and for a week. And redo it. Yeah. I fucked it up very badly. When it gets in that register, you're like, I have destroyed my life. Yeah. This is bad. Yeah. I'm sweating just thinking about how much I was sweating then. There's a lot of sweat. My heart started racing. I was like, oh no, I can't imagine. Oh my God. Oh God. Yeah. Okay. Sometimes the confidence is helpful, but sometimes you just walk directly into a brick wall, which I've done more than once. That's why you're doing entertainment. That right there. I have watched so many people on set where I'm like, oh, they don't have that answer. Yeah. And they just said, absolutely, yes, no problem. Yeah. Okay. And then they figure it out. That's wait, the customer is sorry. The point of the Blockbuster thing about me saying rendezvous, this is from last week. Oh my God. They returned. I was like,
you got a late fee on rendezvous in Paris. And they go, rendezvous in Paris? Is that what you meant? And I was like, yes. And I'm sure I said something like, oh, I was, my mind, where did it was the first time I'd ever seen it written. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't know it's French?
I remember that feeling to this day. I was so humiliated, especially because like everyone in like us was like so educated and so like whatever. And yeah, anyway.
I'm so glad you remembered that because I totally forgot to go back to that. Well, folks, if you listened last week, you understand what that was a reference to.
Yeah,
and if you didn't, shame on you.
Yep.
Egg on your face. Okay. Well, now we're going to move on to the good stuff.
Holy shit.
We hope you saved room for dessert. You're laughing like that's the first time you've heard that, but as a long-standing fan of the podcast, there's no way that's the first time you've just heard that
Absolutely
phrase.
Not, but I laugh like that every time.
That's nice.
And you'd never know that.
You wouldn't.
No.
What was the nicest thing a customer has done for you whilst you were working?
Oh, man. When I was a music teacher teaching young, impressionable children.
The future.
Pre-kindergarten through 5th grade.
Babies.
Yeah. At this particular private school, you had to put on 6 live shows a year. You had your grandparents' day. You had your Christmas show. You had your Easter show. You'd like... 6
is too many.
But the raddest part, though, which now sounds like an insanely daunting task, but at the time I was like, cool, is you could do like a pre-existing show, or you could do your own. You could write your own. And so
That's cool.
Yeah, it was great. So it was like the first and second did their anyway. So it was like me and then these like bunch of little kids would kind of like collaborate and like write these shows together. And then anyway, after every single show, the parents were so over the moon nice and amazing, and like would like bring me gifts and shit. Like, it was such a nurturing, warm, lovely environment. It was very special. It's still, I think, was my favorite job to this day. Yeah, it's the one that I think about the most. But yeah, they were really a good group.
So they would bring you gifts because they were so stoked about what you got out of their kids.
Kind of.
That's really sweet.
Yeah, and it was really, I mean, the kids did really most of the work, which I didn't tell the parents, but...
But you had to help them write. A kid doesn't know how to write a show.
Yeah, no,
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's really sweeit. So they would bring you, can you think of a gift you got during that?
I must have got like thousands of dollars in Starbucks gift cards. No joke.
Joking?
Which was great for me because they were selling food there and I was like real low on change.
Yeah.
Shockingly, as a private school music teacher, which is going to blow your mind. Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay. Can you think of your favorite customer or a favorite customer interaction that you had where you were like, oh, this person just really sticks in my mind?
I think that does it have to be a customer interaction?
Well, it could be like a client, just something positive of like, that you were like, oh, this sticks out to me.
I mean, honestly, that I think Annie Wright as a school, that's the place that I taught.
Yeah.
They just like, they treated me for some reason. I think they must have done this to other teachers, but it was as if it was like they were graced with my presence. That's how they made me feel, you know?
That's lovely.
They they wanted me to teach music in this certain way. Sounds like they sent me to a fucking cult. But they financed these classes that I took over the summer and made sure I had everything I needed. And, you know, but there was also, when I was working at G.I. Joe's, we're always calling other G.I. Joe's in different locations. So we became friends with like, hey, this is Jorah in athletics. And like, I didn't know who the fuck Jorah was. But like, after a while, I was like, Jorah, what's up, my boy? How you doing? Blah, 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 blah. And then one time I just took a little joyride over to his store and I was like, hey, Jorah. And he was like, oh, hey. And I was like, all right, Jorah. Well, I guess we're not going to have the slow-mo embrace that I thought we were going to because I wanted to be friends with you. But
I guess not.
Yeah, I mean, that was cool.
Did you ever have people like that when you were bringing, like for the band experiences when you were a modulator, was there ever a band you got to see that you were like, holy shit, I have immediately died because I got to see the acoustic set of Fill in the Blank?
The bands that were happening at that point were like MXPX and like Travis and Deftones. Those were a lot of spins on the radio station.
Oh, okay.
There was not that, those experiences came later in life for me. But it was nothing specific at the time. But like, I think just being in a radio station and seeing kind of like how it worked in the flow and like that the people who worked there were just like assholes like any other people. You know what I mean? Not assholes, but like just, you know, just regular people or whatever.
Regular people, yeah.
In the more, there was this kid Harms who I think is still on, I don't know what he's doing, but he's definitely like a DJ somewhere or like a personality somewhere. But he started as a modulator as well, and then like kept turning in demo tapes and just like worked his way up.
Bless him.
Until he was doing like the midnight show, and then he was doing the morning show, and then he like got onto a syndicated thing, whatever.
It's really cool.
But he was just such a Seattle kid that you could like see him skating down like Park toward, or whatever road it was. You could like look out the building and like see him skateboarding down, and then he'd like come in all sweaty and then just like roll into the DJ booth, and I was like, fuck, that is so rad.
That is very cool.
I wanted to do it. I was like, I want that. Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you think of the best tip you ever got whilst you were working? The tipped positions you had feel like they weren't extremely lucrative, but was there ever a customer who was like, hey, here's like here's $50 or here's like $100 or whatever?
It was my dad.
Oh, you have the best parents.
Like, anytime my dad would come in, he would leave an exorbitant tip on
Bless
like a
him.
fucking $20 bill or something. Yeah, it was I have absolutely lucked out, like lottery win style with my parents for sure. I know that. But he would always do that. Oh my God.
What is the best time you've ever had at work?
I think like rolling around doing street team stuff with the radio station
I figured
was definitely a good time. But also like, I mean, doing those shows with the little nubs was just
the best.
So fucking cute and great. The thing that was also great about that school is that the high school kids, where the music room was downstairs by like, I think there was some like biology classes and stuff. So like some of the high school kids would cruise by, and they had little siblings who were in class with me. So they would like, I would get to know them, and they would pop in, and then it like from time to time they would just like come in and hang out and like kind of like chat with me about what was going on in their life and like problems and this or that. And
That's
also
neat.
like, actually at that school was the first time that I learned about what a GSA was. Do you know what that is?
No.
It's a gay straight alliance.
Aww.
So they're like, basically they're groups on campus or on school where like, queer kids and allies alike will go and, talk about shit.
I love that a lot.
Yeah, it's cool. My high school definitely didn't have one, or if it did,
mine.
it was
Mine
not
was kicking all the gays out. It was really good and something to be proud of.
Yeah. But I was out like by the time I was teaching there, and there were a couple kids. There was a kid who emailed me and asked me to be like the faculty whatever.
Did you start sobbing? I would have started sobbing.
I got really uncomfortable because I felt like I was so close in age to them. I was like,
that you're like, I'm a peer.
kind of. I was like 21 or 22.
Oh, yeah,
and they were 18, and I was like, this feels wrong.
Yeah.
In some way.
Like, I don't know more than you do.
Right. And which it wouldn't have been, but I was just like, I don't know.
Yeah,
and also I was just like, whoa, we're talking about gay stuff. Are we just talking about gay stuff now? I guess.
Because I'm new. What? Help.
Totally. And honestly, they had so much more. I'm sure those kids had so much more experience than I did
By
at that time.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, the whole Annie Wright experience was lovely. A 10 out of 10 recommend. Fuck, there's other cool shit that I can't remember right now, but
okay.
Basically all the stuff that all the jobs that I had where I was working with kids, Skyhawks, and those were my favorites.
Okay. What's the best lesson you've personally learned from working in customer service?
Oh.
I like that you're acting surprised, like you didn't know that question was coming.
Well, I'm just like right now, like all of the training videos are going through my head, where it's just like, if you think that someone's stealing, go over and provide them the very best customer service you possibly can. Have you heard that thing? Right? Really?
No.
It was always a thing where like if someone's like shifty or whatever, you just be like, hey, is there anything I can help you with, or anything I can help you find, anything specifically? I feel like you might like this, or whatever. And so
you just start laying it on.
You just lay it on because
so that they're not tempted to.
They're not tempted, and they can do nothing but pay attention to you.
That's
and then
such a good...
or they know that you are looking at them. and then I'll leave.
Shout out to I keep doing this with you, but shout out to former guest Ithmar Enriquez, who taught me. I didn't know this because I've never done retail. He said that technically speaking, you could see someone like shove a bunch of jeans down their shirt or whatever until they cross the threshold outside.
Right.
They haven't actually stolen, so you can't do anything. But I was like, what were you about to like chase somebody down Fifth Avenue and be like, there's jeans in your shirt? Like, you're not paid enough.
Absolutely not.
But as servers, we are always expected, like, there's so many restaurants I've worked for that if someone did a dine and dash, we had to pay their bill. So, like, I'm sure, yeah, I know.
What?
I know. So many people don't know this because you didn't do restaurants at weird times or whatever.
Oh,
yeah.
fuck no.
So that's why with retail, I'm like, y'all didn't have to chase them. I have chased some folks to be like, you ain't pay your bill.
Oh, my
Like,
God.
Yeah, I'm not buying you
Holy
dinner.
shit. I'm just remembering when there was a bar in New York called The Swift on 4th Street, and I don't know if it's still there, but when I first got to New York, I guess I forgot to tip, or like I tipped on, I don't know what I did. I messed up somehow. And the server was like, hey, and like called me back. I was with some friends.
You left? You were off the property?
No, I was just like sitting at a table over there. And she was like, I don't know if you're new here or whatever, but the way that it works is you tip 20% on a bill. So why don't you come on back and do that now? And I was like,
I am deceased.
let me just fucking crawl into my own skin and die.
Tell me you didn't go tip that behavior.
Yeah, of course I did.
Joanna.
Of course dude, I was 24. Like, what do I know?
And also, you've been publicly humiliated. That is that's next level. There were people at the comedy club where I used to worked at. They would chase people if they didn't get tipped.
Holy shit.
Chase. And I'm like, whatever. God bless. This is the positive section.
If you got
the chutzpah, do it.
Yeah.
What is one piece of advice you would give to customers who interact with customer service workers?
Oh, I'd say you have no idea, and this is also for just anyone. Like, you have no idea what the fuck's going on in anyone's life.
That's right.
So, let's just everyone take her down a notch.
Just a scotch.
Yeah. No one's gonna die unless you're a doctor. Yeah, and just assume that like maybe there's other things at play than just what's right in front of you.
Hello. What's the best way to pivot with someone? I know you mentioned before you have the tactic of like, hey, I'm gonna talk to you a little bit more if you're coming at me hot.
Yeah.
But what's the like, other than that, do you really try with people, or you're just like, you know what, they're having a bad day, I'm gonna leave them alone? Like, what's the move you would recommend to people?
If a customer's being rough.
Or if a customer is, or if the employee is being that way.
I mean, I just say get in, get out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like
Call it.
Just be like, if someone's being a dick, just be like, okay, totally. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Let's just like end it for everyone.
Yeah.
There's probably gonna be better that way.
Yeah. This is actually awful.
Yeah,
for everyone involved.
Totally.
Well, is there anything else you wish people knew when they were interacting, or when they are in a customer service setting? Is there anything else you wish you could say that you're like, all my years, I always wanted to say?
Yeah. And all my years at Blockbuster. Yeah, I think just like just be kind. Just like be a person, There's this, they're not like your servants,
Turns out.
Just like be a person.
Yep.
And just know that like not everyone's in the same situation as you. I always feel like, it's so easy to forget that sometimes, but there's so much going on that you don't know about. That could make a person act a certain way, or make them depressed, or maybe they're struggling with maybe they're bipolar, or maybe they're suffering from that and they're trying to fucking hold down a job. Who knows? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think like I'm just thinking back to when I was younger and I didn't know any about, and also about myself. Like I'm super ADHD and like just like divergent to the, to the core.
Yeah.
And I also like, even with my family, like I didn't have tools to control like how I was feel. Like if I was sad, everybody knew about it,
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to kind of like get that under wraps. And I'm feel fortunate that I did, but I mean, who fucking knows what's going on in people's lives? I guess that's the takeaway.
I'm with that.
Yeah.
Well, Joanna, this was rough.
Terrible.
But we did it.
It did not go well.
It didn't.
Yeah.
2 weeks in a row, having a hard time. How can people get in touch with you? Like, what are the socials for the shows that you do? And what's your website? Tell the folks.
The podcast is called Come Out, that I host with comedian Mo Welch. Mo Welch. It's come out on Instagram. And then the monthly show that I host with Nico Turner is Hot Goss Comedy. Hot Goss Comedy LA is the handle there. Okay. And, get your tickets. Give it a follow. Give it a whirl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell them you found out about it from Service from Hell.
Yeah.
So that my ego gets stroked.
Let's hear it for Kate Gaffney, everybody.
Let's do that.
Honestly, great job hosting. Great job prepping.
Appreciate you.
You're moving it along.
Tried to.
You're keeping my interest, which is shocking for many reasons. Particularly, I do not enjoy talking to you. So that's the number one.
This is what I have to deal with, folks. Yeah. This is why Joanna got on the podcast. Yep. Just bullying. Relentless bullying. That's your whole brand.
Just felt like you were knocking at my door for a long time.
Oh, begging.
Will you please?
Just begging.
Will you please?
Yeah. I didn't have to follow you around with a calendar being like, please just let me write this down. Please just give me a date. Okay. Well, your show is once a month. The live show is once a month, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Last Thursday? Wednesday.
Last Wednesday of the month.
Wednesday
the podcast.
That's good.
Wow.
Well, these are words.
The podcast is weekly and new episodes drop Tuesday.
Weekly on the Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Sound like my mama.
Yep.
Well, folks, we survived and we're going to drop your checks now. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to help us out here at Service from Hell, guess what? You can subscribe. You can rate. You can review. You can do all of that at the shows, wherever you're listening. What's happening? But you're listening on SiriusXM, so you can't do that there, but you are listening and we do appreciate it. And if you're a long haul trickle, wow. If you're a long haul trucker, God bless. I don't know how you're doing it. It will help us reach more people that need to be schooled on the art of being kind. It won't be catharsis for those of us still working in the industry. If you want to get in touch with us here directly at Service from Hell, send Joanna all of your emails and tell her how much you hated this episode at joanna.joanna@gmail.com. Or send us your receipts to servicefromhellpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Remember, guess what, y'all? If you can't afford to tip, you don't get to go out. So don't be garbage and be good to people because it's easier that way.
You betcha.
Joanna, this was a delight. Even though I said it wasn't.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate
Thank you for being here.
I appreciate your time.
Well, I don't appreciate yours, but we did it. And
that was a genuine moment. You couldn't even take it, could you?
I couldn't.
Hey, you're really good at your job.
Thanks. You are too.
Wow.
I'm going to start crying.
Look directly at me.
I can't. Okay, now everyone's throwing up and we've lost all the listeners and that's a wrap. Folks, thank you so much for listening. Good night.
Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go.
Do you know that that's now the outro for every episode? I'm going to just clip that bit out and play it. I'm not even joking. Get ready to hear that more, everybody. The nicest thing a customer's done for them. Mm-hmm. Most people are like, oh, I can't even think, or it takes them forever, or the bodily fluids one. And but if you don't have it, the answer is just, well, none. But we've had some stories. That's why I'm keeping it. Also, that question was born out of getting barfed on. I got barfed on at the store and I was like, this question has to go in.
Oh my God. Was that the straw for you?
No, the straw for me was COVID. I mean, this girl like tried to push me down the stairs. Girls threatened me. I had to have people separate. Like it was what? Wait, if I told you the stories, you would think I was lying.